What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Proxyleptic, and today we are talking about Destiny 2, something I haven't talked about in a little bit on the channel or on Twitch. For those of you who don't know, I do play it sometimes, more on Twitch than I ever have on here, but part of that is that there just hasn't been a lot of stuff that I think makes for entertaining content to do. This is worth talking about. This could potentially change that. This is the latest This Week at Bungie. Came out just 2 hours ago. I know a little bit about it already, enough to know it's worth talking about, but I haven't read the full thing. I figured we would go over this together. First big thing, new raid coming. Season 18. They're going to reveal which one it is on August 23rd in their showcase, with it going live on August 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's probably King's Fall. The options are Crota's End, King's Fall, Wrath of the Machine. It's kind of split in what everyone thinks it is, but I have a huge feeling it's King's Fall. But they're going to do it very similar to Vault of Glass, I believe, was what I was reading before. 1560 power cap, yep. Clearing the raid with contest mode active is for the first step to access the new challenge mode in the director and the special triumph for completing all of the challenge triumphs for each encounter. The secret triumph, which is to do with day one specifically. World first, finish line, and claim their prizes. I won't be taking part in any day one stuff probably, but I might do the raid shortly after. This is probably the really big change here. Starting in Season 18, we will be introducing some changes in how we play matchmaking in the Crucible. This will be the first iteration that is part of a larger plan coming through Season 19. Our World Systems teams are leading the charge on this transition and are here with a lot of info on what to expect. And then they talk about skill and connection. We know this has been discussed with a lot of passion and goodwill. We're going to give you a clear description basically before we get deeper into the how and why. We're striving towards a goal that all players, including new lights, can enter the Crucible and regularly get matches where they can feel competitive and have a reasonable chance of winning/competing. Making fair matches using skill-based matchmaking is going to be important. So right there, that says the majority of this already. They want to bring back some form of skill-based matchmaking. And this is about as far as I read before I decided to do a video on it. It'll be started with implementing loose skill-based matchmaking to the control playlist specifically, by the sounds of it. Loose skill-based matchmaking has a wider starting skill similarity than survival and should result in matching with a wider variety of players while also eliminating some of the frustrations we see in our current system. Expect loose skill-based matchmaking to expand to other players in future seasons as we tune what we consider a high-quality match by gathering real data and feedback from you. We are not planning to add it to every Matchmake Crucible playlist. We will continue tuning until it's good. We will report tuning updates regularly. And we will be implementing a form of fireteam size preferred matchmaking in Season 19. That's very interesting. I would love to hear more about that. But before we continue on with this is going to split a lot of people because some people hate skill-based matchmaking and some people really want it back. I kind of fall in the latter personally. It wasn't done to the greatest extent last time, which they're kind of already admitting here. But if it can be implemented in a somewhat better way, I think it is more helpful overall to me. But of course, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Keep it constructive, please. That's all I ask. No need to get mean with anyone in the comments, but this is very exciting either way. This is going to be a huge shift in the Crucible. I will probably do videos on it when this comes out. I haven't done videos on Destiny in a while, but this has me very curious. Goals of creating high-quality matches. They want all players to be able to join and regularly get matches where they can feel competitive. So that's a little bit different than what they said earlier, which I will talk about probably. All players, whether solo or with a fire team, can find a place in the Crucible where they can play a variety of matches and have a reasonable chance of winning/competing. We are defining reasonable as expected win rate between 40 and 60% for most matches. I think 60 is probably a little bit generous. Like, if you're a new player who hasn't done PvP, I don't think you should go in there and be expecting to win 60% of matches. I think 40 to 50 is fine. Like, if you're able to win half your matches as a new light, it's going to encourage you to want to keep playing it. 60 is a little bit generous, but that's kind of semantics, really. Players are rewarded based on their skill and proud of their skill. Sure. Reserve a place for players who do not want to engage in the skill system. What, like a casual mode? Again, some of these I will very much be interested to hear a more drawn out explanation of. Generally speaking, any matchmaking in a competitive multiplayer game tries to put together high quality matches. We consider three things when assembling these: connection quality, match fairness, and matchmaking speed. And of course, connection is really what dictates the matchmaking right now. Two types: connection to the game server, connection to all other players. Generally, bad connections to other players has the larger effect than connection to the game servers. So that's what they focus on more. That's where the connection-based matchmaking comes from. Lower quality matches result in jerky movement by other players, missed shots, or getting unexpectedly damaged or killed. And that's the thing. They want to avoid that because, for one, some people do it intentionally. Network exploiting, stuff like that, I believe is the term they use for it. But basically, you lower your internet connection to give you an increased chance of lag working in your favor. When fire teams are spread across the globe, we pick a single player's latency to speed up finding matches. Makes sense? Ideally, all players in a match have a reasonable chance to win that match, is what they want in fairness. Have similar skill is the best way to summarize that, as they said right there. We always consider matchmaking speed as a key element. No one wants to wait 10 minutes between matches, no matter how perfect they end up being. There is a balance, of course. You don't want to sacrifice quality of match for being able to load in like that, but yes, that makes a lot of sense. When matchmaking, we must balance all three. If we want to lower matchmaking speed, we are either going to need matches that are less fair or matches with lower connection. We'll continue tuning to find the best balance possible. And I think that's probably the biggest thing to take away from this. They're admitting there is something wrong that makes some of the matches not very fun. They're saying outright, they're trying this. They don't know if this is the fix. They're going to continue to work on it, but they are fixing it. And I think that's going to be the most important thing that people take away, is there's an active effort going into changing it. Throughout this TWAB, we will be using the term skill. Okay. In Destiny, that term refers to how we rate all players who perform in PvP on a scale of 2,000. It's reflected in this graph. I don't read graphs, but I'm sure for some people this is very interesting. Internally, skill is a combination of stats, kills, deaths, captures, round wins, revives, dunks, that ranks you against all other players in a match. Each player's skill is compared against the skill of the other players in a match, and we make skill adjustments for all players at the end of a match where the two rankings differ. Makes total sense. That's just how that works in general. There is also a confidence rating. The more games the system has seen you in recently, the more confident the skill adjustment is. I think that's pretty fair as well. In addition to this, skill encompasses all sorts of things: your reaction times, agility, how you approach fights, how well you know the maps. Yeah, all standard stuff. You won't ever actually see a skill value in game, and while we are currently only using it to try to get fairer matches in survival and elimination, we still track it for all modes, including Gambit. This gives us a reasonable starting spot in new game types like Rift or Zone Control. Yeah. How do they play out? If someone is 200 skill above you, you can definitely tell they are better than you, and they will win 75% of engagements against you. The opposite is true if someone is 200 or more below you. Once you get to a difference of 600, there's basically zero chance for the lower skilled player to ever win a 1v1. This is probably the biggest thing right here, and this is what they're wanting to fix, obviously, is if you load into a game of Rumble, I think the best way to put it is sometimes it's pretty obvious what happens because it's connection based. You get like 4 or 5 people around this 200 skill mark, and one person at 600 who can effectively just farm everyone. And Rumble is the fastest, just easily accessible Crucible game. Like, it's short. It just takes, like, I think it's 8 people, and it's a free for all. So it's the most attractive to a lot of new players sometimes. And it has a huge disparity like this sometimes in skill level. So yeah, this is why I think skill-based matchmaking could be a huge help. Okay, the problem space, though, is what we really want to hear here. Outside of survival elimination, the ability to influence whether your team wins or loses is usually out of your personal control. That is a feeling that you get a lot. This can feel bad as the match outcome feels essentially random and you don't feel motivated to try to win. Yeah, a lot of people have started doing their best to basically AFK it and just get the rewards. This has contributed to us de-emphasizing winning as a requirement to gain rewards in the Crucible. Unfortunately, that's not really enough because they're just not enjoying playing it if they feel like they have no chance of winning, so they try to AFK. I think this helped, but I do think making the matchmaking better, like they're talking about, will help a lot with this. The current landscape also allows brand new players to match up with some of the highest skilled veterans and are expected to compete. I love this. They are addressing every single concern we have talked about, basically. I'm sure there's some that they have skipped over, but like, this is the stuff people complain about. And like, normally you can kind of add stuff to it, but it's harder to add stuff to this because they've done a really good job of kind of getting everything in this. Like, this is something that is very common for people to talk about, especially on like Reddit and stuff. So I'm very glad to see this on here talking about when new players come in being paired with these high skill veterans. In Control, the skill disparities on a team can be stark. Over 50% of matches have a skill disparity of 900 or more between best and worst players. That's a very interesting stat to know, I will say. I mean, we all knew it was significant, but with the numbers they gave us earlier, to know that a skill disparity of 900 is happening in Control just puts it in perspective even more. On the other hand, in Freelance Survival, 60% of matches have a 250 skill difference or less. And I will say, I'm someone who loves survival, 3v3 modes in general. So I probably just haven't really noticed this, and this has subconsciously made me like the mode more. So that's very, very interesting. These wide variances in skill also lead to more Mercy games than you would expect. Okay, so there's a graph here kind of showing that a little bit. Again, I'm not good with graphs, but it's cool that they have these on here for people who can read them better than I can. Wide disparities in skill also exacerbate other problematic elements. With wide disparities, trapping a single team in a spawn is significantly easier. I've seen this happen. I think I've actually been a part of this happening, if I'm being honest. With wide disparities in skill, it's more likely that most of one team is dead at the same time, freeing the other side up to roam around and look for new targets. Yes, this is very true, and in Rift, this can decide a game right there. If you wipe the team once and just immediately get that first point, you're already ahead by so much. And then if they keep doing that, it's so hard to feel like you can keep them from dunking the Rift when they can just do that at the start, wipe your team, and have a very easy run to within like 3 feet of your zone, whatever you want to call it. Because of these extreme factors, no matter what your skill, it becomes hard to tell if you are improving or not. Was that a great play, or are they just a worse player than me? Very interesting. I love the way that they're wording it so perfectly to show people they are listening. You can also check the third-party sites who track ELO. I'm kind of surprised they bring this up, honestly. ELO isn't something we track, use, or validate, so it's a use at your own risk data point. Okay, it's very interesting they bring that up. I've never noticed them bring that up. Maybe they have before, and I've just kind of skimmed over it. We know we have to do something to solve this to get in better place. We know we won't be able to address everything in one fell swoop, but this will be the start of an ongoing process in Season 18 to improve PvP over time. Match balancing, skill-based matchmaking, and control. We're going to start turning match fairness back up in control, and only control. So this is what we want to focus on that we'll be testing at Season 18. Let's see. We want to start slowly to limit the number of playlists we consider when tuning matchmaking. We can do some testing, but nothing can fully simulate how the full population will be affected by these changes, of course. That's to be expected. We are going to be live tuning the matchmaking parameters over the first few weeks until we land on something that provides a better balance between fairness, quality, and speed. I think the first few weeks is generous to say that you could come up with changes there. I think it'll be more than that, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's totally fair. But I don't think the first few weeks will be where we know how it's going to be. In the first few weeks, we're just going to look for a trend, basically. You just want to see if it's trending in the right direction in the first few weeks. You can probably make your final decision within a month or two of the season if you are going to like skill-based matchmaking or not. Connection-based is what most of the Crucible playlists utilize. First, we identify a pool of available players with a good connection to you. Within that pool, we choose players with the very best connection. If we can't find players with that, we widen the variance in connection. We repeat until we find enough players. A key point about matchmaking in a fire team, the latency we measure to find a good match does not take into account a fire team with disparate connection speeds. We only measure latency for one of the players in a fire team. I didn't know that part. It's kind of neat to know. Let's see. And that's just basically a definition of skill-based matchmaking, which I think we all know. And they've kind of talked about quite a bit. This loose version, they've already talked about this quite a bit, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. However, we are hoping the trade-off for matches that aren't super sweaty or lopsided blowouts will be worth it. That's, again, obviously that's what you're wanting, because that's the big concern about skill-based matchmaking is you get to a point you're doing good enough that's just putting you with a bunch of really good people to the extent that it ends up being the super sweaty match. And that does make it hard to enjoy it as well. It's kind of the reverse side of what we're experiencing now. So I think loose skill-based matchmaking is probably going to be the way to go, in the sense of, yeah, I'm sure there will still be some bad matches, but I think it will be better overall. Whereas with the other versions, it's one side of the coin is always having bad matches, pretty much. I mean, that's an exaggeration, of course, but you get what I mean. What are we going to be looking at as we tune? Matchmaking time, mercy games, final score differential, and less variance between the top player and bottom player. All makes sense. Explain the distribution a little bit. I don't think we need to go into that too much right now. Fire team size mismatches. It's no mystery that full fire teams often stomp 6 solo players who match against them. Fire teams that are used to playing together may also be in voice chat with each other, allowing them to communicate more effectively than those who are not. Oddly enough, if we look at the average skill for solo players, it fits the bell curve from above clearly. If we look at the average skill for full fire teams in control, we can see the bell curve centers around 400 to 500. So not only do the fire teams have a communication advantage, but they also have a decisive skill advantage. Okay? The big question is, are high skill players more inclined to play in fire teams, or do regular fire teams make your skill go up? I think they go both hand in hand. I think it's both of those things. If you have a high skill, you play this a lot, you're competitive probably. So you're going to play with a fire team because you're wanting to win more. And also being in a fire team does make your skill go up because you're playing with people you know, you're chatting with, so your skill just goes up in general too. I think those go hand in hand. Either way, we'll be implementing a form of fire team size preferred matching in Season 19. Very interesting on that one, because they have freelance already. So I'm very curious how this will work out. This is obviously for like, if you're playing with one other dude in your fire team, you don't want it matching you with 4 solos against a full 6 fire team. That is our current plan going forward. We'll keep you updated as we tune settings. So, of course, this is just the vote for the Trials map, Eternity. They voted enough. Yeah. So we're getting an emblem. It's a neat little emblem, honestly. New Prime loot. I like the ghost. The ship's kind of whatever, but I like the ghost. There's some player support stuff. Known issues is the last thing we're going to look at. This is probably not going to be much, I don't think. Some people who purchase the Seashore pack from Eververse do not receive the items. I don't know about this because I didn't purchase those. But this issue has since been resolved. Okay, so that's cool. You obviously want to get what you pay for. Event card expiration. Players should ensure they complete and claim all event challenges and event rewards before its expiration. After the reset, you won't be able to acquire any unclaimed rewards. That's pretty standard. Known issues. The Hyperborean Pinion Sparrow does not appear in collections. I do know this one. I experienced that firsthand. Photohydraulic actuators, however you say it, it's the Titan ornament for Syntheseps. Appears owned for all players when expecting armor cosmetics for the armor piece. I noticed this on a few different exotics in my experience, but like they light up like you own them, but they still say to pay silver. So like it's not too big a deal. It's just a aesthetic thing. Track seasonal challenges may not disappear from nav mode view once completed. I didn't know this one. That's interesting. This one was very common complaint. Nightmare Containment does not award progress for the Solstice Jubilee event challenge. So this one probably, the event is like 2 weeks. So I think at this point, it probably doesn't matter. People just did other stuff. I know there's one challenge that has it on there, but you can do something else instead. The Arc Solar and Void Solstice glows appear less bright. I wouldn't have noticed that, but it's cool they're fixing it. Some players are only receiving 1 silver ash on secondary characters when completing a bonfire bash. I did not know this. I did have one game where I didn't get any, but I just assumed it was because I was at max. So maybe that's what that was. And then this is just like their general showcase stuff they do. But yeah, guys, this was a huge update. Like, it's mainly PvP focused, but I think this could change the amount of people playing the PvP. And it has seen a huge decline. There's no denying that. I mean, you can see the stats on it. People just got tired of it. Like, it's just not enjoyable for a lot of casual players. I think a lot of competitive people don't really mind too much how it is right now. But for a casual player, like, you know, some dude who he works 9 to 5, he comes home, he just wants to chill, have a fun little game of Rumble. Because it takes like 5 minutes, he can do that before he has dinner, or right after he has dinner before he goes to bed. And he wants to have fun while he's doing it. So this potentially makes that better for those people. That's what you really want to see. And hopefully this does make it better for new lights who jump into PvP. They don't get scared off right away, because that can happen very easily right now. You jump in, you get floored 3 games in a row. You're like, why would I want to do this? I'll just do the PvE stuff, okay? I seem to be doing better in that. So yeah, I'm super excited for this. I will definitely do a video testing out the control skill-based matchmaking. I don't know how many games I'll need to do to really test it. Probably a fair amount. And then, of course, after the first few weeks, they're saying they're probably going to do some tuning to it. So we'll also check out that. And if you're just interested in seeing more Destiny content on the channel in general, please leave a like and let me know in the comments what you want to see. I'd love to do more. It's just hard to really know what to do, because the seasonal stuff gets boring quick, and I just now really picked up raiding to some extent. I hadn't done it as much before. So I think that's all for this one. Bit of a long video. Won't be edited, so I can get it out there for you guys to see quick. Let me know what you think. This is a very, very interesting topic. But guys, that's all for this one. My name is Proxyleptic. This was the Bungie update. See ya. Peace.